think y'all missing the point. You know what I'm saying? If you want to look at other cultures, they train their women. I mean, their women do exactly what Miss J said. They train to be nurturers. They schools they go to is wife school. They go to school to, you know what I'm saying, to provide for their family, and it's not providing for the man necessarily, it's provide for the family. I said this that last time, and I don't think nobody did no research, but a lot of these Middle Eastern countries, a lot of these everywhere besides the Western, you know what I'm saying, Europe, American, all that kind of crazy stuff, the Five Eyes, everywhere else, they train their women to be women. In the US, we train our women to be professionals. And in other words, we train them to be men. You guys have no earthly idea what it is to be a wife until y'all go ahead and become married. And now it's a lot of trial and error. So with all that trial and error, that's why our relationships do so bad.
Well, do
I
you
don't.
think
That's
that
what
the
people
reason
say.
they're not?
Acting like they the wife.
Listen,
Yeah.
I don't agree
I was
with that.
going to say, do you think that the reason they're not taught is because they're not seeing marriages? Like, if we go back to that, typically when you learn, when you even speaking with children, they're not taught by being talked to. They are taught by what they see, right? So if most of Black households are led by single mothers, you really are not being taught how to be a husband, I mean, to be a wife, nor are the male kids are being taught how to be a husband.
I know, I agree with you. Miss J
Mm.
said we was taught that the women is being
But
bought.
I do think women are taught to take care of a household, even if they're being led by single mother households, because a lot of times you have to help. Like, I know when we were growing up, it was a point that my mom, like, it was three girls and a boy. My brother, he got away with everything because he was a boy and he was the youngest. But with the girls, we literally had a schedule of house chores. Like, 1 week, like out of the month, we had to switch. So 1 week I would be responsible for the cooking for all of the family. One of my sisters would be responsible for the laundry. Another sister would be responsible for cleaning, the living rooms and the bathrooms. And we had to clean our bedrooms. And then once that week was over, we switched and rotated. So we all had to participate and keep in house.
But mistaken, what you're saying is you wasn't taught nothing, you was forced to do it. Because wait, don't get tricked. Look at Shantae by the
I
end.
went to school. We had schools like that in Alabama. We had like an etiquette school. Like, I know what you're saying. We had that in Alabama.
I'm just saying, see, the thing is that what you're doing is you knew that this in your mind, the way our women think, you didn't think that, okay, let me do this, let me get good at this, let me be the best at this, because this would be a deal breaker when it comes to actually being married. I'm gonna ask you a question. If you think they had an etiquette school, there was a 5-star etiquette school that produced the best women in America, do you know men to be lining up at the graduation to marry them chicks? We don't got. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Is it a male school like across the street? So,
Well,
because I don't think men are all, I think Trill has said this before, and I just have to disagree. And this is just kind of based on my own experience, and then kind of that experience being supported by some of the data, is that I don't think men are necessarily taught to be husbands either. I think both men and women are learning along the way when you don't have both parents in the household showing you. Now, I know for me, I am an exception because both of my parents were married and were together up through till our adulthood, and then they divorced. But in that process, my mother didn't specifically say, "Oh, you have to do this to take care of your husband." I was taught by watching how she took care of my dad. So she was ironing his clothes. When we did laundry, she would scrub, by hand his collars and his work shirts, and ironing. And we had to go bring my dad his plate when, she cooked dinner. And so I find myself that, like, when I cook dinner, I always serve my husband first. I don't care who's in the house. I serve him before the kids. I make his plate. He gets his plate, then I serve everybody else. And that's because that's what I saw my mom do. So she didn't specifically say, this is how you take care of a husband. She lived by example.
See, and
I
then
agree with that. Hold on,
I-
Attila. Hold on. I agree with that because it's the same for me too. Mistaken. I grew up, as I said, in the West Indian culture. You serve your man first, even if it's a boyfriend coming to the house. Did he eat? Did you got to get him some food? Make sure you get him that food. So that is just naturally how I am too. When people come to my house, I make sure that they're served, whether they're my man or not. Like it's just certain etiquette. So I think it all depends on your upbringing. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Logic. If there's no examples there, then they're not going to absorb that. But I don't feel like you have to go to an etiquette school like these other countries are doing. I think there needs to be more of an example in the household than what is present today.
But see, what I'm saying is that think about this, right? And see, I'm a smash Miss Taking Point, even though I like her though. She cool with me. But think about this.
Why do you always choose violence? Why?
Because he's a terrorist.
How's that violence?
I already said I'm gonna smash her point. Like everything's I'm gonna smash, but I even know I like her.
See,
go ahead, choose violence.
And terrorists always trying to find a way to make somebody else a terrorist. But look, the thing is that you don't need a man's school mistaken, because the thing is that coming up, the path you're taking is actually the path of a man. See, you don't want to have to see now. She instead of just say, "Okay,
How? I just like to know.
I
How.
wasn't going to say nothing. I'm going to let you elaborate so I can really understand what you're saying.
So coming up, hustle, grind, grit, all them traits that you learn coming up and doing that, them is actually manly traits. It just so happened that you guys learn the same thing. You guys, like I said, just listen to the chicks talk. And it's just not the little Cardi B chicks. All these chicks be talking about something, chasing the bag, chasing the bag, chasing the bag. They get into this position where they think like a man. So now when it comes to the crossroad where they have to become a woman, it's hard. And I'm not mad at y'all, because I understand it's hard for y'all to cut that light switch off, because you told to be aggressive. You told to chase. Yeah, and aggressive. You don't believe being aggressive is a masculine trait, then I don't know what earth we on.
I do, but I don't agree that we're taught that. I think that people just have it in them. They want to be whatever they want to be. But I think that, are you talking about the schooling? Because we're taught to go to school.
No,
but hustle and grinding doesn't equate to being a husband. Like that's one aspect. That's one aspect. Like you knowing that you have to get money to provide for your family, but the other part of being a husband, like, and I think that's what happens a lot of time in marriages. You sacrifice the family for the job. So the job becomes the priority, because in your mind, you're thinking, I need the money to take care of the family. So the family gets neglected while all of your energy is hustling and grinding for the family. So
I want him to answer the question. So
I agree with you, Mistaken. It's very like lumberjack vibes. Like it's kind of like barbaric a little bit, where it's like it really is, where it's like it's all about, you need to be a lady, you need to be this, you need to be that, and you as a man have absolutely no know-how of how to cultivate that out of or bring that out of a woman. Like where are you to show up to hold space for me to feel safe to even honor that for you? So a lot of it is like, you need to be this and you need to be that. It takes two here. Like, you know, you mad because I got an attitude, so you got to wobble on crutches to go get your food. Why am I upset? Like, where is the space and the connectedness for us to be able to navigate this together, so that even in those moments, you know, we're still able to be connected. So a lot of the times women, we just feel like we're emotionally in this alone, to where you feel like, okay, well, I'm providing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, so you need to be that. We have needs that need to be met. And by nature, we are even more emotionally in tune than men are. And so there's a balance. And I feel like, especially with Black men, y'all are so disconnected from being emotional and being available in that kind of connected space. And then you wonder why, like, you feel like all women are terrorists. Because I mean, where's the safe space that you're holding for her, that she wants to be able to provide that for you, or wants to be able to hold that vulnerability for you consistently? Like,
you know what the problem is, ma'am, is I mean, that was a terroristic comment, because the only
detached comment. So
see, the only thing you couldn't come at me logically. You had to bring in the perspective of saying, well, we're emotional. And then now you saying that the problem with black men is they're not emotional. See, the thing.
I was about to say, well, you know, there are some black men who don't have
literally emotional beings that sometimes think. So to think that as a human being, you are not emotionally aligned is very detached behavior in and of itself. Like, you have emotions and you have feelings, and it's so weird because men will be like, oh, I'm not entitled to my feelings. Like, I can never express my feelings. Where are they? So to sit there and be like, you know, well, that was kind of like, we're emotional beings. We very much so are. We're emotional beings that honestly sometimes think. I mean, if you think about it from an energetic standpoint, that's how you attract, you know, what it is that you want. Magnetically, you have to align thought, feeling, and an action. So to think that your feelings aren't a part of the play here is just kind of a very detached perspective in and of itself.